Okay, let's just get straight to it. We're looking at a pretty stark warning coming out of the Middle East. It's a direct ultimatum from Iran to the United States, and it has put the entire region on high alert.
Yeah, it's a pretty chilling question, isn't it? But it's exactly what's on the table right now. And look, this isn't some hypothetical scenario we're just spitballing here. This is the potential reality we're all facing. So let's break down exactly how we got to this point.
All right, let's start with this specific threat that has set off alarm bells everywhere, from Washington all the way to Tehran. I mean, what exactly was said?
Yeah, there's absolutely no ambiguity here. This is a direct quote from Iran's military leadership, and the message couldn't be more simple or more severe. If the US strikes, Iran's response is going to be immediate and it's going to be widespread.
And that's really the crucial point. We're not talking about diplomatic posturing or some vague warning about the future. No, this is a message meant for right now, delivered at a moment of incredibly high tension. It's meant to be understood as a crystal clear red line.
And you can see just how broad that red line is. I mean, the warning is explicitly aimed at pretty much every aspect of the American presence in the region. Iran has even come out and said that many of these targets, especially US naval assets in the Persian Gulf, are already well within their missile range.
So the big question is, how did we get to such a dangerous point? You know, a threat like this doesn't just come out of a vacuum. It builds up from a whole bunch of converging pressures.
Okay, so you've basically got three key drivers here. First, diplomacy is completely stalled. Then you've got new political pressure coming out of Europe. And on top of all that, you have this increasingly aggressive rhetoric from Washington. It's kind of the perfect storm of diplomatic and military tension.
This statement from then-President Trump, wow, this was seen as a major turning point. It basically shifted the whole conversation away from negotiation and toward this impending deadline. And that, as you can imagine, dramatically raised fears that a military confrontation was becoming way more likely.
And hey, it's not just Washington. At the same time, the EU has been taking steps to label Iran's Revolutionary Guard, which is a really powerful branch of its armed forces, as a terrorist organization. So if you're looking at this from Tehran's perspective, it feels like the diplomatic noose is tightening, isolating them even more on the world stage.
And all this external pressure, it's having a real-world impact inside the country. Reports from Iran show that ordinary life is being affected. You know, people are anxious, the markets are volatile, and there's this tangible sense that the entire country is bracing for a potential conflict.
Okay, so this brings us to the next section. And the crucial thing to understand is that this isn't just about Iran and the United States. If a conflict does break out, the consequences would be felt far, far beyond their borders.
And this is the critical point for global stability. Any direct military action, it doesn't matter how limited it's intended to be, would almost certainly trigger a massive chain reaction. We're talking about devastating regional consequences. And those consequences are incredibly severe. I mean, a conflict could immediately pull in neighboring Gulf countries. Think Saudi Arabia, the UAE, many of whom are US allies. It would almost certainly disrupt the global oil supply through the Strait of Hormuz, which would send shockwaves through the entire global economy. And the biggest fear? It risks spiraling into a much wider, more catastrophic regional war.
So really, when you put all the pieces together, Iran's message is designed to make one thing crystal clear, especially to policymakers in Washington. The price of a military strike isn't going to be small or contained. No, in their view, it's going to come at a massive, region-altering cost.
Which brings us to the final crossroads. It's the big, critical question, right? Where do we go from here when the stakes are this high?
And that's really what it all boils down to. Is this brinksmanship just the last gasp of a failing diplomatic process? Or is this shock to the system the very thing needed to pull everyone back from the edge and somehow find a last-minute path to de-escalation? Honestly, the answer to that question is going to shape the entire future of the Middle East.